it seems like ages, even though like I was only away. We're only away like for a week. It seems like a long time. It's good to be back. It's Friday night. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers, tune in. Episode 69. What you're listening to?
Nice.
It's Friday night. I'm looking forward to everyone's picks. Mikey's back. Sam, it's been a while, man. Second time around. It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, man.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
We've just been having a little bit of banter about the Steve Miller Band. I don't know if any Steve Miller fans are watching tonight. But, you know, I think that Fly Like an Eagle song, I remember like hearing that, like Fly Like an Eagle on the radio. Like I didn't know who it was, like back whenever it was, like, and just, yeah.
Oh, Hash is in the house.
Hell yeah. What's up, man?
I was like, what's he doing?
I was literally just hanging out with Hash like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard the Steve Miller, Neil Young, Miles Davis story?
Oh,
No.
Is it
They
long?
all play this show. There's a show. It was like really peak Miles Davis and really peak Neil Young, like early to mid 70s. And they all played a show together in New York. And
Wow.
Miles Davis apparently he liked Neil Young, but he called Steve Miller like a sorry ass motherfucker or something like that.
What about
There's a great art. If you Google just those three names, this article will come up. But,
Okay, gotcha.
And there's been live albums from everyone except for Steve Miller from that show. It was like Fillmore East. Both Miles Davis and Neil Young have Fillmore East albums.
They do?
And they're both from the same show they played together. Yeah.
Wow.
They're both. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, this is what Record Store Day should be doing. You know, doing a Steve Miller.
The third set from the Fillmore East show.
Exactly.
The Steve Miller one. Yeah, that's needed.
All right.
Like
Steve Miller band right here.
All right. Let me do the old housekeeping. I got some more housekeeping to do actually later, but I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it till after my first pick. Here we go. Like and subscribe if you'd like to. Is everyone watching? There you go. Hey, there we go. Is everyone ready to rock? Sam, you ready?
I'm good to go.
Yeah, me too.
I love that Sabbath shirt.
It's a nice
It's
one.
a cool one. Yeah, I got this recently. It's a cool.
I
shirt.
almost wore a Sabbath shirt myself. It was like of the movie Black Sabbath.
Oh yeah, I know that shirt you have. Yeah.
Cool. All right, let's get going, man. I got some new stuff. It's been a while. I think it feels like it's been a while since I've had some new records. You know, like beginning of the year. It's taken a while for things to like get over here these days. The way things
Define
are.
new.
What's
Like new?
Like 2024.
Oh, okay, so like new.
Like
Okay,
new.
gotcha.
Not
got a
like
couple things like that.
1998
I never
new. yeah, new. Like new 2024. You know.
Cool.
That's new.
I know Sam's doing one record that I was gonna do. That's a new record. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm
So
still doing that.
Is it the Public Acid record? No.
that's been shown already.
No,
I think
it's
Daniel
not.
did that. Daniel did that.
Daniel got in there pretty quick with that one.
No.
Maybe actually even before. I think just after it had come out, he showed it. Right, the special
it was
like
like a
listening party edition. Great record.
Do people ever show records that haven't come out yet, like a test press?
I did actually, but unknowingly,
Okay. Cool.
it hadn't come out yet. It was the Peace Talks album.
Oh, nice.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Because Bato was in Japan and he had copies like before it had been released, and I got one. Anyway, before I showed my first pick, which is a new record, let's just talk a little bit about like 1980s like Kyushu, Japan, like noisecore, and let's like narrow it down to like two bands, Kuro and Confuse.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Now, why are we talking about these two bands? Well, I always felt like that. Like Confuse was more like Disorder and Chaos UK, like taken to the next level, and then Kuro was more like Discharge, like taken to like a kind of Japanese hardcore.
I can see that.
That's like my very, very like basic take on that whole scene. Why are we talking about this? It's because this new record that I've got really, really reminds me of like Kuro and like Kyushu like noisecore, and it came out just about the same time as the Public Acid record. Talking about
the Sexpill. Nice.
Yeah.
that's right. Yes,
They just announced the Richmond show.
Sexpill,
Yeah.
In Dust We Trust on Beach Impediment. I know, man. Like this, like super noisy stuff, like doesn't always hit the spot for me. But I really like this record. It's
I like it a lot. They're really good live as well.
I can
I saw them
imagine.
at a house show here. And it was very good.
I honestly, I haven't listened to that yet. I need to. I need to check that out.
It's really good. Like, you know, it's the first thing I was reminded of was like Kuro. That was the first thing I thought of when I heard it, because it's like it's got that slightly more like rocking like feel to it. It's not just like boom, 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 with like super distorted. It's got like a bit more of a like rocking side to the whole.
That's helpful for me with that kind of music. Definitely. Yeah, that sounds good.
I prefer
like it was a turnstile. They did like a few.
It is nice artwork.
They have a certain swagger, I think.
That was. That's a great word. Actually, that was exactly what I was thinking of. There's like a swagger, like a not Motorhead, but like a definite like rock feel to it, which for me, with my tastes, like is very pleasing to me.
Yeah,
to have those kind of like riffs. Yeah,
I for bands like that, it's almost requisite to me for there to be a swagger, like the super technical, the regimented like perfect tempo. I'm like, I don't know, this is cool, this is fine, but like when there's like, I don't know.
No,
like,
I'm really with you. Yeah, because with that kind of music, it's like, especially if you play music, it's not going to blow your mind with what they're doing, but maybe how they're doing it and how they all sound together and how it all is put together. So when it's like too clean and perfect, it's like I'm not getting anything out of it, kind of. So it sounds like they've got a lot of style, which you need to make that stuff work. Yeah,
you know, like I said, like I think there was a lot of this kind of like super noisy, like Kyushu confused worship, like coming out of like New York and stuff, maybe like 10, 15 years ago. But this like doesn't remind me of that at all in a weird way. It's like I don't know, there's something different about it. It's almost got like a US hardcore thing as well, kind of in there. It's a little bit more catchy, a little bit more song structured. That kind of Kuro. I feel like most of these bands tend to like go the confused route, and not many bands have gone like the Kuro like route.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely have to check that out.
It does have a bit of that like early like Toxic State record stuff to it too.
I like the early Toxic State stuff. Yeah, and it just got announced today that they're playing here in Richmond coming up.
Oh wow!
So I was just thinking I need to listen to them anyway because I saw that shit.
It's good. It's a good record. Yeah. I didn't know anything about the band, so I quickly looked them up. So apparently there's like there's 2 members of Institute in this band.
Yeah, they're from Texas, so that adds up. Yeah, that makes sense.
Texas band. Yeah.
And there's somebody I believe also from Narrowhead in that band, that like kind of 90s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, interesting. I saw Narrowhead when they played here with Enforced and Ivy Creep. I went to that show. Didn't really do a whole lot for me. I didn't watch the whole set, but
one of them's in Sexpill.
That's cool. Yeah, that kind of 90s rock stuff, like it doesn't always hit me, the revival of it, even though I like some of the original stuff. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
They seem like they're doing well, though.
Yeah. Good choice. Artwork is fucking sick on that, too.
Yeah, that is. You know, you think the war imagery is played out, but I've never seen anything like that. That's fucking cool looking.
I feel like there's like a poster inside too, which has the same artwork with like. It has this kind of like, it's not pixelated, but it's got kind of like a dusty. Actually, it's just this side, like a dusty, kind of well-worn feel to it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, cool. Probably one of my favorites of the year. So I think it came out like at the same time as the Public Acid record, maybe, because they arrived.
Yeah, I think it came out exactly the same time.
Because they both arrived at the same time here. So.
Yeah, I almost ordered that, but I need to listen
to it.
Who released it?
It's Beach Impediment.
It came out like bundled with the Public Acid record the same day.
There you go.
Yeah. What do you guys think that band name means? I don't get it.
Sexpill?
I don't like dislike it, but it makes me think of like Viagra, like an old man having it. Is that like, I don't know if that's what or is it like ecstasy, like MDMA? Is that the sex pill or?
Yeah, it's like one word. It's not my favorite band name.
It doesn't bother me. I just don't know what that's supposed to be implying, or I don't know. I just don't know what it means. I just thought I'd ask in case one of you knew.
Let us know in the comments, what does sex pill mean?
Whoa, out of all the hardcore bands to get like corporate sponsors, if Sexpill got a Blue Chew sponsorship, that would be cool.
Or
we have
the
Sex Dwarf from Sweden, right? A while back.
What was that? Sex Wolf?
That's a good name. Dwarf.
Oh, okay. I like Sex Wolf. That would be a sick, like, kind of badass rock band.
I like Sex Vid.
Oh, I love Sex Vid.
Yeah.
That's a weird name, but they're a great band.
Yeah. There's also Vid Sex too, right?
Is there?
Wasn't that like an old like Japanese band?
Oh, maybe.
Maybe.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Maybe that's
all right. That's my first pick. Check it out. Good new record out on Beach Impediment. Sexpill. In Dust We Trust. It has a bit of a psychedelic feel too. I kind of forgot to add that kind of swirling, swooping, like kind of lots of like weird little noises coming in from like the speakers and stuff. You know.
There were a lot of like Texas bands in the like 2010s that kind of had that. I'm trying to think of this one band. I can't remember their name, but there's like a psychedelic hardcore band from there, from Texas. They had a song called, or like an album called like Desierto, I think, like desert. And they had like a really long song. Maybe somebody knows. I can't remember what they're called.
It is. Hi, Rachel.
Well, last time I saw Sexpill play, they had that bomb siren going off the entire set. Like the entire set.
How did they do that? Is that like they have an actual siren, or?
I think it's probably something hooked up to a PA. I could be wrong, but entire set, just like the bomb raid siren going off. It was.
It comes up on the record too. Yeah. It's like
That's rating.
Though the psychedelic Texas band I was thinking of was Sin Motivo. I don't know if you guys remember that. Okay, yeah, they kind of had that thing going on.
That's it. All right, Mikey, what's your first pick, man?
So my first pick is my only record. It's not new, but it's the last 5 years new.
New enough.
New. You know, especially because of like COVID. There's like kind of like a big blank spot.
Right.
So mine is by a band that I actually think is pretty underrated. Like they seem to be more popular in their home country, from what I gather. And they kind of just do a sound that you don't see many bands doing and really capturing the spirit of it. This is probably my favorite record of theirs, and that's Exiled by Bad Breeding.
Oh, nice.
Oh, there you go.
I love this record a lot. I'm a big Crass Records guy, and I think this band does it, that kind of style, in a really sincere way. It doesn't feel like kind of like a cheap imitation. It feels very modern at the same time. And I just like how like a Crass type band, they have like a lot to say that can be very wordy, and like sometimes it can be a little convoluted, but I think it's pretty cool. Like all the records have like themes. I think a lot of this is like on like kind of class consciousness and stuff like that. I think they have a new record that's coming out really soon. Yeah, it's weird. I didn't go to the they played a show here once, and that was just before I knew about them, and I didn't go.
Oh yeah, I played that show. I was at that. They were really good. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's really cool. You were kind of doing your little unraveling. It's of course because it's like a Crass thing. Of course, because it's a Crass type thing. It's got to have like the big poster.
Nice.
It's got like an entire essay in it. Like it's like very.
Oh wow.
I'm gonna say intellectual because I think that's giving it. I don't think that's the intent, but it's just very
cerebral, maybe.
Very cerebral. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. And I don't know. Like I appreciate more like straightforward like Discharge lyric bands. I love that, but it's kind of fun seeing some bands that are like a little more thought provoking. It's good. I like it quite a bit. People should definitely check it out because I don't think they've really caught on as much in the States as they have in England. I mean, because they're on like one little indie now.
One
Like,
Little
it's, like,
Indian.
pretty big label. I thought that was kind of a cool full circle thing though with the Flex of Pink Indians connection.
Right. That's
So,
crazy
yeah.
how like One Little Indian went from like releasing like Flux of Pink Indian stuff to suddenly doing like Bjork and being this like this.
Yeah, exactly.
right.
That's like the major. Yeah, that's what I associate them most with is Bjork, and then like now like them doing like some Bad Breeding records because I think this one's on Iron Lung, I believe.
Yeah, I know Iron Lung does this
Mikey?
stuff.
There's a song on here called like 2018. I want to say this one is. Yeah, they don't have any label thing on the back. I'm pretty sure it's Iron Lung. It's either that or Lava Beer. But yeah, there's one song here called Whose Cause in particular that I think is just like one of the coolest punk songs of like the last 10 years. I think it's really ripping. It's like a little bit of like a noise rock element in it too that I think is cool.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yep, that's my first pick.
Yeah, they were good live. I'd see them again. And
I
would VSC. A lot of bands that's a really weird sized room or shaped room, as you guys know, the VSC. But I remember them sounding like great in that. Like they had a really dialed in live sound. They were cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure like
feet.
Yeah. So, cool.
I feel like I was just going to say, I feel like in the UK, they were, I don't know if it was a label thing, they were kind of pitched in as a little bit like, you know, the new breed, you know, Sleaford Mods, Idols, those, but they're not like that at all.
There's so much more.
I wouldn't have thought that. Yeah.
But I think that's like how they were kind of pitched a little bit, you know, like maybe.
Which is just definitely not the case. I mean,
no.
You know, a lot of that stuff is like, those bands are like vaguely punk, but this is like, to me, about as real as it gets.
Yeah, it's a good band. They're coming to Japan, I think.
I think they already did.
They already did, Jesus.
Yeah, I saw Kohei filmed some video from it. He did one of their music videos too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that.
He did one of our album covers.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's a great pick. Good band. Great band.
Nice.
All right, Sam, what's your first pick?
All right, I'm going to start off with this. This is the one that I spoiled for Mikey. He knows that I'm doing it already, but this is a band where the three of us, me and Will and Mikey, are very familiar with. The Friends in Bato, they finally did their LP. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with them or this label, the Not for the Weak Records.
Oh, yeah.
They did like the Wrecking Force record and stuff. That's like, I feel like their probably one of their better selling ones.
Yeah, it's a smaller kind of smaller in terms of maybe it doesn't get like national, international attention, but Norfolk, Virginia Beach area in Virginia. I don't know, this record, I guess the main thing that I think of is that it really sounds like a Virginia hardcore record. Like there was a time when there was a sound coming out of Virginia.
Really good point.
And, you know, with just the proliferation of the internet and as time goes on and people just don't want to play things that sound exactly the same as, you know, the bands that came before them, you know, I get that, but it seems like this is the last band really holding on to like a Virginia hardcore sound that I would associate with like the 2000s, maybe into the early 2010s too.
Yeah, I think what always for me with them is like they're a perfect example of the type of hardcore that got me into hardcore.
Yeah,
like that's what when I was getting into like you know, getting into 80s you know, US hardcore, and those were the kind of bands doing this sort of style where it's like kind of like it's obviously very 80s, but it doesn't feel like it's like too lo-fi or like trying too hard to like be
right
completely like a recreation of the 80s.
Yeah, I would say the best like Virginia sound that I'm thinking of kind of goes back as far as the 80s, like White Cross, Raven Age, and then also like some bands from the Virginia Beach area like God's Will and stuff. And yeah, I don't know, it is kind of like a 80s hardcore, but it's also got like something kind of 90s like fast thrash a little bit in there as well.
Not metal.
No, not metal. I mean like the like thrash hardcore.
Yeah,
like late 90s, early 2000s. I'd say that's present in the sound.
Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah.
Their drummer Zach is just such a beast too, and I just love him. He's one of my favorite drummers. Like punk drummers to like watch play, and he's just
he's nuts. He plays so fast. The whole band, they're just really on like a certain like fast intensity that I've like taken to an extreme that I don't think a lot of people are taking that approach as much, and they're real purists of it, and they I don't know, they're just doing great. They're doing something that not a lot of people are doing. They're doing a great job.
Cool.
Very tight band, especially on the recording. Like, it sounds like a band that's like knows what they're doing.
Wow.
Yeah, they took a long time. I think this LP was in production for 3 or 4 years, maybe even a little more, but they really made sure they got it to be exactly how they wanted it, and you can tell that on the recording.
Yeah, their guitarist runs the record label, and they also like the record story's got like one of the mover shakers in that little scene.
Yeah,
well, he's got the studio in the back of it too, so
yeah, he's recorded stuff for our bands.
Both of our bands. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
They're a great band, and I'm really hoping with this new record that their name gets out there a little more, because
it
I think
seems like
years they never really got quite as much shine.
They're on that Philly Fest this year, and I know they're doing like a full week plus tour for the first time this summer. So it seems like they're getting a little more active these days. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Nice, man. I'll look out for that.
Yeah, it's good.
Sounds good.
All right, well.
All right. Well, what you got, man?
I'm gonna pull out something. I just picked it up. It's not my selections tonight are decidedly not all very punk, but
neither are most of mine.
We're gonna get there. Anyways, I got the first Dust record.
Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
I was happy to pick that up and learn a little bit more about it along the way. I've been a Dust fan for a long time. I've been actually like really obsessed with them for a while, but finally just like came across this at the store the other day. And
I'm not familiar with them. What's their vibe?
it is fucking hard rock. This record came out, I think, in '69. Sorry,
Okay.
71. I'm wrong. I think they formed in '69. This record came out in '71, but it has the illustrious Mark Bell, aka Marky
Ramone.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. I only knew that
Stuff.
the Dictators.
Just like absolutely destroying drums on this record. I also, in some reading, learned that the guitar player and the producer of this record went on to produce some Kiss records. For all the Kiss fans out there, which we're going to circle back on Kiss later tonight. But
I'm in.
nah, Dust is so good, and I don't know. For anyone who's like a hard rock fan, you can do almost no better.
It's great, yeah.
Anyone who's into like Newtown, anything similarly stylized, Sir Lord Baltimore, Dust, right up your alley. Sorry, I don't have a whole lot more to say about it, but
Cool. I need to dig into them.
What's that one called? Is that self-titled or?
Yeah.
I think it is a self-titled record, but maybe I'm being crazy.
I haven't actually listened to that one that much. I know Heart Attack a lot.
Heart Attack's good too. That's
That's
the
the
second
one.
one.
That's the one I was showed when I was younger, and I just always go for. I need to listen to that one.
Heart Attack is my first love for sure. And that cover on Heart Attack is also perfect.
Oh, such a great metal.
It's
album.
like ahead of its time in like metal, metal.
Yeah.
art.
Yeah, it's super timeless. I think.
It's
That artwork.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is just a self-titled record.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's the first self-titled. Yeah.
I've heard it, just not as much. Yeah.
Yeah, like Dust is one of those bands that like when like people are into like hard rock, like Sabbath, all the big names, and the internet kind of came along, and people like started digging for like more obscure stuff. Like you said, well, it's like Lord Baltimore and Dust and like Captain Beyond and all these kind of bands that they weren't very big at the time, but they were kind of like rediscovered, really, like thanks to the internet. Really, I mean, like I'd never heard of Captain Beyond or Dust until like I started messing around on the internet, right?
Yeah, 100%.
They were kind of a gateway band for me at a time when I didn't really like a lot of music like that, but it was Ramones member kind of made it something that I was like more open to. When I first heard it when I was like 16 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember liking that at a time when I wasn't checking out a lot of stuff like that, just for that reason. And
I sometimes forget how beast of a drummer Marky Ramone is.
He's so good, and this is such a good example of like, he was playing like a little more technically informed or like intricate stuff on this, or just real like smart music, if you will, compared to the Ramones.
I've played jazz before, and I'm like, oh wow, okay.
But this just to me, it just proves that like the stuff that the Ramones were doing were like intentional choices and very like tasteful, and that might be obvious to all of us. But I just think it's a good reference point, maybe, for somebody to be like, yeah, he played this stuff and he played this stuff. He was choosing to play like this. They're not just ignorant boneheads.
It's hard to play like that simple, so like precisely, like like AC/DC. Like
I couldn't downstroke bar chords for like an hour at the pace that they were doing.
No, it's unreal. Yeah, absolutely unreal. And whereas I feel like Dust is like Marky at like a younger and more like I gotta hit every tom on every fill,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
obviously a different sound and different style, but I don't know, it's cool to hear him just like riff on the drums on these records.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I remember when I picked up those Dust records, I didn't know that because I'd heard people talking about it, I didn't know that Marky Ramone was a drummer, and that was it was like kind of an extra layer on the cake, it's like, wow. It's kind of pretty interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Historical.
I'll throw in one random tidbit real quick too. I needed to go to the store the other night. I live in New York now, and my girlfriend was like, "All right, we're gonna go to this store." And she was like, "You know what we're close to is the Ramones mural." And I was like, "Let's go fucking see the Ramones mural." And we go. It's in like this part of Queens where hailed from. It's like very German looking, like literally the buildings, this little circle with the Ramones murals near to is like got that like brown fucking wood plaster, whatever. But we go to see the Ramones mural, and there's like a construction fence up, and they're just like doing construction around it. But I managed to like climb up just enough and peek over, and I saw the Ramones mural.
I've been to the Joe Strummer mural. I've never been to the Ramones one.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I hope it remains when they're done with the construction.
That's a great pick. All right, I'm going to do some like promotional work before I go to my next pick, because okay, we got some T-shirts made.
Oh, sick!
And if people want to buy them, there you go. Merch bin collections, Analog Attack. They're up until April 14th. The classic Scott Langley Scoots design, $20 I think in the States. So yeah, if you want to buy, if anyone wants to buy a T-shirt, how about it?
That's pretty sick.
There you go. Great logo. Yeah. There you go. Hey, there we go. That's out of the way. Am I a good salesman? Not really, right?
It's good to know. You weren't pushy, No, I appreciate that in a salesman.
Yeah, you don't have to buy one. But you better.
There's the equivalent of, hey guys, we've got T-shirts over there. If anybody wants to buy anything.
So I was like, should I do this? Because I've got it.
No, you should. No,
it's done. Now we can move on now.
Do you have to do that every month?
I'm only going to do it this week and next week, and then it's done. Yeah. Hey, everyone. Remember, don't forget.
Pre-scheduled commercials.
Mikey, you mentioned Iron Lung Records, right? That Bad Breeding was Iron.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on there.
Okay, that's right. I got something new on Iron Lung, done by a member of the band Iron Lung, but it isn't Iron Lung. It's another band that he's in that are also on Iron Lung that are maybe a little bit overlooked and underrated. It's always kind of dangerous to say that, but I don't
There's
really
so many releases on that record label. It's kind of easy to miss something.
Yeah,
a lot of it's really good though. It's really the quality.
I was wearing my Slant shirt earlier today. I love that.
That's a great band. Yeah. So I guess Jensen from Iron Lung Records, and the band has this other band. They just put out their third LP.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Nasti.
No, I didn't. I don't know them.
I feel like a lot of people on the interwebs and everything, on the message boards and all the places that we lurk. I don't really see this band talked about too much.
I feel like I heard about them. When did their first record come out? Like 5 or 6 years ago, probably.
Maybe around that time. Yeah.
I remember hearing that name at that time. Probably listened to them at that time. Honestly, haven't thought about them in years. But this is a new one that just came out.
This is a new one that just came out. Right, cool. So according to Discogs, this is like their third LP. But I have another record by this band that I thought was an LP, but Discogs says it's an EP, which is I like too. But yeah, it's like just it's ugly. It's that kind of ugly, misanthropic, like disgusting, cool. Hateful, mean, kind of twisted. A little bit weird, a little bit out there, hardcore, but it's hardcore, and it doesn't go too far out of the pocket that you lose your way. It kind of stays pretty much as a hardcore record. Maybe a little bit of power violence kind of in there, a little bit, or a little bit of like slower, like noise rock. But yeah, it kind of has that like hoax, gag, crazy spirit, that kind of a thing, a little bit unhinged, a little bit weird, a little bit psychedelic, a little bit off kilter. It's that kind of thing, right?
I like that.
Yeah, it's good
I like
stuff.
that band a lot. I haven't stepped that LP, but like when I first heard them, I was immediately running that band Pollution from New York.
I like Pollution a lot. Yeah,
Pollution was fucking sick, and Nasti like hits on that same sort of like dirgy, but also fast. Like, it's really good. It's really good.
Yeah, like Sam, I haven't heard like the really early records that you mentioned. I've only heard like the more recent ones, so I don't know like how different they were back 5, 6.
I'm not super familiar with them. That's just what I came to mind when I first started.
And Iron Lung does part of a lot of releases, so it is easy for things to get like lost in the pile. But it has that. It's like
I get emails regularly. Like it feels like every week. The records are really great, and that's what I did them. But they're prolific.
Also has like a bit of that like United Mutation, like Void, that kind of like the weird kind of side of like hardcore, going on.
All right, I'm sold. I'm gonna definitely check that one.
Honestly, I feel like they are a little bit overlooked. Maybe I don't know.
I don't hear people talking about them. I don't see their name around. Yeah.
No. Ugly, lurching, but also fast too. But
yeah. I'm jumping around here, but
go ahead.
One, it's, if I'm not mistaken, it is Jensen, and then like some people who are much younger than them playing in this band together, which is always a cool dynamic to see.
Makes sense.
But also, how many records does Iron Lung have released at this point? Does anyone know offhand?
That's a good question. I just noticed that La Vida es un Mus is about to put out like their 300th release, right?
That's crazy.
And I think Iron Lung might have more. Maybe I can check because
I would think Iron Lung would have more.
This is Lung. This is Lung's 259. There you go.
Okay.
So
they're not really amazing.
So La Vida has a few more out than but similar, right? Kind of similar.
I feel like Iron Lung didn't hit that really prolific streak until a little while in. When the label first started, it was slower. And then at a certain point, it just probably 6 years ago or something was when they really started putting out stuff every month at least.
Yeah.
It's a good label. Every month, yeah.
It's like, I don't know, man. It's you got to respect these guys, man, for bringing us all this music, in a difficult time,
Yeah.
They did those Rashomon records that I love so much.
Ooh, yeah.
I think this is like a split release with Static Shock too, so it's like a European pressing on Static Shock, cool. And then the US is on the Iron Lung. Yeah, Iron Lung, People Problem.
It's some good taste on it.
name of the record. Yeah, pretty ugly, but beautiful record. That's also new, Mikey, new.
Yeah.
New. Yeah. All right, Mikey, what's your second?
Cool. So mine, I just reshuffled the order.
There you go.
Originally right now. My next record is by a band who I first heard when I was in high school, but I did not get it. People would tell me how great they were, and my brain wasn't developed enough at the time. And I got into them much later. I was wondering, to start, do you guys have any bands like that where like it doesn't click with you at first, but then
I have a lot of like there were entire styles of music that took me a while to get into. So that's
mostly
kind of,
like post-punk for me. Like in real time, I hated at the time, but like now I'm an old man. Like I can listen to like Echo and the Bunnymen and Bauhaus and all that kind of stuff. I hated it at the time. Absolutely hated it.
Nothing.
Not a bad cave attendant.
I've definitely opened up a lot, and I think it's kind of nice when you get to discover something like amazing and old that's like stood the test of time and it's fresh to you.
Yeah.
There's something very exciting about that I'm kind of glad that I was so stupid when I was younger and I left myself all these good things to eventually discover.
It's great. Yeah.
So with all that being said, I recently saw, I know I've talked to you about this movie before because I can't stop talking about it, the new Dune movie, Dune 2, which I loved. But so after I saw that, it had me like really thinking a lot about science fiction and stuff. And it had me revisiting a couple records. This is not my pick, but it made me think a lot about Dope Smoker by Sleep.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically science fiction, but that's not my pick.
Oh, damn you.
I'm doing a Daniel movie. But my record is not that, but it's another band who is very science fiction-y, and I have grown to really like some of their records. And this is Dimension Hatros by Voivod.
I haven't really gotten into them. I think maybe my time is yet to come with them.
So this isn't my favorite record by them. My favorite is Killing Technology, which is the one prior to this. This one is kind of like the last one they have that still feels like it's like a foot in the world of thrash. Like it's still like got some real headbanging type riffs in this. After this, they go a little more prog.
Yeah.
Like the next record was like their big crossover one where they cover like Pink Floyd and stuff. It's like very like nerdy stuff. Like in terms of like, it's like very like conceptual, a lot of it. I first heard about them because of because I loved Celtic Frost. They would always like lump them in with Celtic Frost. I feel like because they were
same label, right? Noise Records.
They were both on Noise, and they both were like kind of like I think they're kind of considered like avant-garde metal, kind of.
Right. Yeah, that's how I kind of group them in my mind. Yeah. Even though I don't know Voivod nearly.
They did some touring together and stuff, but so this is their I want to say fourth record.
Fourth, right? Yeah.
Yes. Thankfully, this pressing. I think this is an early pressing, or unless it's just a hidden track. It does not have their stupid Batman cover, which is the one thing that I'm not crazy about.
That's only on like the
cover of the Batman.
Yeah.
CD.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can get that on like a 7-inch single or something.
They're definitely. I think Die Kreuzen is a really good comparison point.
I really love that second Dick Kreuzen record, October File. That's crazy.
This is just very odd, and sometimes they'll go into places where I'm like, this is a little too weird and proggy for me.
There you go. But what is the Kreuzen's favorite band? And it shows.
Yep. But so I actually wanted to read real quick because all of the records have like a story, and this has a little blurb about the story of the record. Inside a giant particle accelerator, a beam of protons traveling at near the speed of light meets a beam of antiprotons moving equally fast in the opposite direction. The protons and the mirror image antiprotons annihilate each other, creating the fiery chaos of a parallel microgalaxy. Experiment 1 complete. The Voivod goes into that new dimension, meeting different civilizations and psychic entities, extract knowledge and energy in the 8 programs of this project called Dimension Hatros.
Dimension Hatros.
It's a lot. A lot of stuff. It's not like a concept record. Like it's not like a rock opera, but it's definitely just like a vibe.
I've got a rock opera in my stack, so.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not anti-rock opera.
It's coming.
I like several of them. So that's my record. I actually just got this today from Battle Conflict.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
So
it's really cool.
Would you recommend that as a starting place with this band?
For you, no. I would go.
Okay, give me a personalized recommendation.
I would say start with their first record.
With Voivod, you've got to start at the beginning and work forward, I would say.
Yeah,
okay. That's easy enough. Okay.
Their early stuff is you can tell they were listening to GBH and stuff like that.
Yeah, the first record is fucking wild, man. It's
a little more gallopy and just like
that Kreuzen like comparison makes me intrigued. We were talking earlier about like departure records and how that historically that's been like not a good move for bands to change their style radically. And to me, Oktoberfile is like one of the biggest.
I love that record, too.
Success stories of a band radically changing their sound, and it's just awesome.
Yeah,
it's tough to pull off. They're one of the few that did that well back then.
Yeah, because their early stuff is a pretty straightforward thrash. It's like a little weird.
I don't know, Bobby. It's really good. It's still good though.
I mean, it's best of all time. Like
their third record to me is the best.
Yeah, I think of them as a weird band, not like a straightforward.
Check out Killing Technology then if you want something that's a little weird but still really ripping. Killing Technology is my favorite.
That's my favorite too, but yeah.
This one's just like a little weirder, and then it kind of goes too far. And actually, their new records are actually pretty cool.
They're good, yeah.
That's what somebody told. Actually, somebody was playing me some of their new stuff a few months ago when I was like in the car with someone, and that made me intrigued. Yeah.
They kind of do. It kind of reminds me of like what Paradise Lost did, where like they started out really heavy and then they started getting more experimental and out there, and now they've kind of come back full circle where it's like kind of got a little bit of all of their elements and everything that they touched upon kind of synthesized down. So
they found their sound.
Yeah, Dimension Hatchrock.
This is probably a weird choice, but I really like that 14 record they did with Jason Newsted on bass.
Yeah, their Jason Newsted record's good.
It's good, yeah. It's not like a fan favorite, I want to say, but it's a good record.
Yeah, I did not get this band when I was 16. It was just like too out there for me.
I definitely wouldn't have either.
It took me till I was probably like 25.
Yeah, it's not straightforward like hard rock or heavy metal, right? It's really out.
I wanted to hear Slayer at the time, Right. So, and this is not that. But it's got riffs.
I'd say Jeff. I would say that.
I think Jeff is right. That's exactly right.
I would say so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah. Nice. Classic band. Still active too.
I've got a lot of classics in my stack. I'm not full on Eric Chubb this one where I'm just going for like and I mean that lovingly because he picked bangers. Like I love No Control by Bad Religion and stuff. And,
oh yeah.
But I do have a lot of like kind of like marquee name bands in my stack today.
Beautiful. All right, Sam, what's your next pick?
All right. I know Will knows, or I don't know if you do. I know you know this, the original of this. Have you heard this Dume reissue?
I got it on the shelf, my friend.
It's so cool, man. It's like, so Zuma is the one that, for people who are into punk music and underground rock music, most people I know, if they're curious about Neil Young, Zuma is the one that I always point them to first, because to me it's just like it's fairly straightforward, but also like kind of nasty guitar tone, and it's just a great record.
Zuma's like the one is closest to like Dinosaur Jr., if you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, that's the one where you hear 90s Dinosaur Jr. and Zuma have a lot of in common for sure. Yeah. So this is a reissue of Zuma. Ooh. And Dume is not Dune, as we were saying before, but
Dume. Wow.
Dume. And so it's turning Zuma into a double LP, which is kind of interesting. And like a lot of reissues where it's like a lot of reissues just feel like, okay, here's this album that I love, and maybe with a bunch of shit tacked on, and maybe one or two out of that tacked on track list, the second disc of the deluxe edition. There's a little cool stuff in there.
You're gonna play it like once or twice, and then like maybe not
stuff you really don't need. And this is really interesting because it's the entire session for this album, without basically like only half the songs that they recorded made it on Zuma.
Yeah.
And this has all the outtakes, but not tacked on as a second disc. The entire album is resequenced.
Oh man, beautiful.
So it has like all the songs that you know and love from Zuma mixed in a really thoughtful way in terms of sequencing. And the songs that you haven't heard are surprisingly fucking great. It's just like, I love 70s Neil Young.
Me too.
If anything is missing from that era, it's that and it's not necessarily missing, and it didn't even occur to me, but he never had a great double album. A lot of 70s bands have these double albums. And there's also a lot of double albums that don't need to be double albums,
Yeah, most of them, I would say.
Yeah, but this is 70s Neil, his lost double album, and it's good all the way through. If you like Zuma,
I love it, man.
then you really need to hear this. Dume is the 2 LP reissue, and it's like the original art, but more. You see this spaceship, and not a lot. I really love this because like this drawing style on this cover is pretty amateurish drawing. You know, it's not like. Did you guys know Neil Young drew this album cover?
I did.
No. Yeah, I was going to say, it kind of gave me like Daniel Johnson.
Yeah, I just think it's really fucking cool to be like a major label recording artist who can draw like this and be like, I'm making my.
There it is. Here it is. It's a new.
Here's the art.
As someone who can't draw, that's something very like cathartic about that. But it's also like it's great artwork.
It is.
But anyway, it adds like these. Like there's like extra middle finger cactuses in the spaceship. There's just some little details added to the original artwork. And yeah, I don't know. It's shocking because like he's done a lot of reissue stuff in recent years, or not reissue so much as like archival. And I like a lot of the live stuff because like when it comes to old 70s bands, Neil Young is one person whose live stuff I really get into. I'm not big on like multiple live albums for very many people. But outside of the live stuff, some of the archival studio stuff he's done from then has been, let's just say it doesn't hold up to the 70s stuff that came out in the 70s.
Right.
For the most part. It's like some of it's good, some of it's like homegrown. I don't know, did you hear that one, Will?
Homegrown is awesome.
It's good. It's good. It's not bad. It's just not, to me, it's not like another classic Neil album.
No, there's a reason that
there's some solid songs and I listen to it, but this to me is like really exciting because it's just really.
That's amazing.
It does hold up to the rest of the stuff from this era.
It fills out the record.
Yeah, it's a great double album.
I did not know about this. I'm super excited because
it just came out on vinyl probably like 2 or 3 months ago. Or something
okay.
And it was originally, I didn't realize this, but it was originally part of an archival box set that he put out like 5 years ago, but it was kind of lost in the middle of this box set. It's kind of like just now getting, proper attention because it got the double album.
I love your dog so much, Will.
Yeah, he's
a good boy. We'll go.
This is for Sarah Rychek. Last time she said, "Show the dog,"
and then please let the dog.
I got to cuddle with that dog when we visited New York last year.
Oh, they were so sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good. They're good friends.
All right, that's a great pick.
Excellent choice.
This nice gatefold photo too.
Beautiful.
I
will follow up with your comment about how this is the most Dinosaur Jr. sounding record. I went and I saw Dinosaur Jr. play.
I love them.
I don't know, a few months ago, I guess.
I saw them last year. I've seen them 2 times. They're so consistently awesome live. So good always.
Very, very good. But they did a whole ton of shows here. It was like the 30th anniversary of Living All Over.
Where You Been?
And they had, or maybe it was Where You Been. Maybe I'm crazy.
I think it was I think it was Where You Been because I considered going up for that because that's one of my favorites by them. I could be wrong, but well, you went to the show. You probably know better than I do.
You know better than I am. My shoddy ship. But what I do remember most specifically about the show is that they had Warren Haynes of Government Mule come out and they covered Cortez the Killer. Which that cover, it was like as close as I could imagine ever seen like Neil play Cortez.
Didn't they do maybe this was the same, but didn't Dave Matthews come out for a Neil Young cover with them during those shows? Might have been a different one you went to, but I remember seeing that and being like, man, I really don't like Dave Matthews, but
the hometown hero.
Yeah. Charlottesville King,
Did you work on one of his houses or something like that at some point?
I imagine that? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I was like, as much as I really don't fuck with Dave Matthews, like him playing, I watched a video of him playing a Neil Young cover with Dinosaur Jr. And I was like, okay, this one context where he can be kind of cool, I guess.
Will, what's
a really, really good band?
Will,
I wonder how that one even came about. Like, how on earth did Jay Mascis get in touch with Dave Matthews to be like, I think you should come play a song with me,
Who knows? I'd imagine that kind of thing goes through like management companies, that are connected with one another. But
that's so boring. I want it to be more exciting than that.
You want it to just be Jay Mascis calling up Jay Mascis.
Yeah, like finding his Instagram and messaging him and being like, "I like that song Crash you wrote. Do you want to play a song with me on stage?" Maybe. I don't know.
All right, Will. Oh, there you go.
So, are you showing a Dave Matthews record then?
Yep, I've got Dave Matthews. Fuck, I can't even remember the name of a Dave Matthews album.
I had a roommate once with a Dave Matthews.
Greatest hits.
Okay, so like I said before, not a thing is super punk, but it's all in the it's not all in the realm. But this one is certainly within the realm of heavy, loud music. This is the Karp self-titled LP, which is literally self-titled LP, which is very funny. They were from Tumwater, Washington, very close to Olympia, early 90s. I believe this is their third actual LP, and I think their finest. This is one of the noisiest but best-sounding records in my collection. And by noisy, I mean you can tell how insane the guitars and the bass and the drumming sound. It's some of my all-time favorite drumming. I've been listening to this again for whatever reason, like not just the record, but like in the car more even than like the LP, like driving around. I love this fucking record. The bassist went on to be like he was the bassist in the Melvins for a period of time. He also did a run of shows where there was.
What era was that? Like mid-90s era?
When he was playing with the Melvins?
Yeah.
That was the 2000s, actually, and I got to see them do this tour together.
Yeah, like Hostile Ambient Takeover, you think?
Yes. Just shortly thereafter. It was when Big Business was playing, and they were gigging with the Melvins, and they were doing sets with two drummers.
Yes.
And then Jarrott, I believe is his name, and Buzzo singing, and it was very, very fucking cool.
Wow.
But great fucking record. K Records, number 67, so relatively early on in terms of their discography, I guess. But if you like the Melvins, if you like, God, I can't even think of like all the bands that have ripped Karp off over the years. Most of them,
like Jesus Lizard, maybe too a little bit.
Yeah, totally stands. It like mixes in with some of the noise rock stuff, but like faster, like a little.
It just feels really underground, more underground than like Melvins or Jesus Lizard.
Yeah,
just kind of like nastier and looser, and not as professional.
Looser word, I don't think. I think Karp is like super tight, but like,
and maybe that's not the right.
Songs are like fucking dirty.
Yeah, that's kind of more what I meant. Just something really nasty about it. That's not
really nasty. It's really, really, really nasty.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't know. If you're into any of that stuff, art's fucking super fucking civil. I'll go off there. Great fucking band. And would recommend this to anyone who likes absurdly noisy guitars and big drum fills.
Will, I think I remember when you bought that record, because you told me about where you bought it, and I couldn't believe it. Am I right?
Where did I buy it?
Was it at the Plan 9 in Charlottesville?
That's very possible. No.
Telling me that.
No, I didn't buy that there. I think I've had.
I remember you telling me you found a Karp record there for like cheap.
They had a copy of the Karp record Suplex there. I think for $100, which in retrospect I probably should have snagged because I think it's.
Oh, so you did. I see. Okay. See, here's the thing: is this record store is horrible. So I remember you telling me this because it gave me this unrealistic expectation, and I would go there every few months after you telling me that, thinking like, oh, maybe there is some cool stuff coming through there, and it's just the most like bleak, barren record store you can imagine.
That's the place we're going to find something like what you're going to find like one record that you can't find anywhere else.
It's this Virginia chain of stores, and the Richmond one is still really good. I go there every few months. Always.
I didn't even know it was a chain.
Yeah, and there used to be. Charlottesville just doesn't. I don't know. I've heard from people who work for Plan 9 that it's basically just a storage facility for them. The Charlottesville store where they just put a bunch of shit that they're never going to sell. And that's kind of what it feels like.
But I liked going there, and I would occasionally find stuff, and I could also usually tell.
I never found shit there, man. And you telling me the Karp that the way I remember it was that you scored like a Karp record there. That's not quite the story you just told, but I remember it giving me these false hope that I would find cool stuff there, and I just
never have.
It was always disappointing. It's kind of out of the way to get there, and but the Richmond store I like. Yeah,
Richmond store is good. But, I mean, it's all about who's bringing stuff in and selling it. And Charlottesville record nerds are not selling their records, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
At least not too.
Well, I think they sell them at side tracks in that case.
Probably
That's
more
where
so.
they'll find good used stuff, and that's
Nice. That's a band I've seen like mentioned like multiple times. I never checked out, so I'm keen to check them out.
Yeah, check out a track. The first track, Bacon Industry, I think is the first one. Yeah, Bacon Industry is the first track. Super great intro. Bastard of Disguise, though, and Forget the Means. I don't know. The whole thing is so noisy. Like, just fucking. We were talking about the Sexpill record having that bomb siren going off. There's one track on here where there's a fire alarm, just like clearly an actual fire alarm, just like going off in the background of the song.
Nice.
And it's pretty unhinged. I don't know. It's good stuff.
Cool.
nice.
All right. I got another new record, like new, like this year new, but it sounds like it could have come out in like the 70s or even the 80s. Actually, it's got a bit of both in there, like a bit of 70s, bit of 80s, maybe even a bit of 90s, maybe not 70s, 80s. I see Mikey's wearing the John Carpenter hat.
The best of all time.
You might like this band because they kind of remind me a bit of like some of the more recent like stuff that John Carpenter's been doing with his band.
I like his records. Yeah, they're cool.
They're good. Yeah, they're really, really good.
Driving music.
So this is a band like out of Pittsburgh, a duo that have been around for 20 years now. They have a bunch of records out, but I feel like they didn't kind of really get into their stride until maybe like 5 or 6 albums ago. I've got a few of them. This is their new one. It's out on Relapse Records. It's silver and black. Fucking hell, that's shiny.
What is it?
What band is that?
The band is Zombi with no E.
Oh, I have heard them. Yeah, it's like the Fulci movie. I've heard them before on like some like synthwave playlists.
Yep. Zombie, the new album called Direct Inject. It's all like fucking like silver on black. Man, that's like a fucking mirror. It's amazing.
Yeah,
That is
impressive.
yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, duo. So it's like, bass. One guy plays bass, keyboards for the most part, and the other guy plays drums. There's like not much guitar in this band, but it's all about like synth textures and mood and atmosphere. Obviously, it's like all instrumental. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Goblin. Like it's like a modern version of like Goblin.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's some of that. There's some of like Fabio Frizzi's kind
Yes,
of.
even like I don't know if you guys know like Pinkish Black. They're on Relapse too. It's like another duo. They're from Texas, but they kind of do really heavy music with like no guitars, just like drums, bass, and keyboards. But it's funny because it's basically like soundtrack music. There's no movie, right? But it flows and feels like a soundtrack to a movie that's never been made. So it kind of goes through like a lot of different moods. Sometimes it's like really dark and ominous and foreboding. And other times it's like, like super like dramatic and like, car chase or like super like upbeat and almost like 80s kind of sounding. But they kind of managed to kind of keep this like mood like through the whole record, which is like what Goblin did. Because like those Goblin records, like sometimes they're really like heavy and sometimes they're a little bit like cheesy and stuff.
It's real fancy sometimes with the
but they kind of pull it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I think this is like a great band and
Yeah, I've heard them before. They're cool.
Zombie, no E, direct. They've got like a guest guitar player on this, but like the record they did like a few years ago is like has more guitar on it than this record. This is I know it's it's just like a soundtrack. It's, John Carpenter, even like the like Tangerine Dream stuff from the 80s that they were doing for like soundtrack movies. It's kind of got those kind of vibes to it. But
yeah, I think that synthwave kind of revival from a couple years ago. It started to go, a little stagnant for a second, but I think like the cream kind of rose to the top So that was like they're good stuff stuck around, and they're definitely.
This is more like rock. There's a lot of drums are a very important part of this band. I mean, it's like one of the main instruments. There's a lot of like really like hard rocking drums in this. It's not like super ambient. It's pretty like rock.
Like you were talking about like Goblin and stuff.
Yes, and like the recent like John.
I'm gonna have to check that out. It's a little hard for me to imagine what this sounds like based on all the different descriptors. It's like I just got to hear it, I guess, because I'm having a hard time. Which is kind of it sounds like something I haven't heard before.
I mean, they're a great band. Like they have a lot of records out. This is the newest one, obviously, but
I've never heard of them. That's interesting.
I mean, they're on Relapse. I mean, the records are kind of easy to get. It's a little bit jazzy too, a little bit proggy. It's just like I don't know. It's like it's a soundtrack basically with no movie. So.
Italian horror soundtracks are just so interesting. Like without going into a whole spiel, because I get to talk about it literally for hours.
Go ahead.
But their soundtracks are just so interesting because, like, the kill scenes in which they would use like Fabio Frizzi, where there's like zombies coming out, like ripping people's eyeballs out, but it's like it's a little funky, the music, and it's like you can kind of like a little snappy. It's very cool as opposed
to
yeah.
I know Zombie. I've listened to a handful of those Zombie soundtrack albums like those. Yeah. Did you see them live ever?
Look at the way he ate that brain. That was pretty badass.
Eyeball like shoots out of the camera.
Mikey, did you see them live? They played Richmond a couple times.
Goblin? Yeah, I saw them do a live score of Suspiria at the Bird Theater. It was very cool. Yeah.
Okay, I remember that was cool. And they just did geez, I'm playing. What would be like the second most well-known soundtrack of theirs?
They did a Demon's live score recently, which is a really good.
Yeah, they did that at the Ashland Theater, I think.
I thought about driving to that.
Yeah, Ashland Theater is cool. It's really small. You can see a lot of like good stuff in a small venue there. Okay.
If you like Goblin,
cool pick.
Check out Zombie on Relapse Records. Man, it's like my fingerprints. I've got clean hands. I thought I had clean hands, but man, it's like the amount of like fingerprints I've left over.
Glasses wiped with
like alcohol wipe.
Pour some beer on it. There you go. That's my third pick. Well, that's my last like new.
Yeah. So last time Daniel was on the show, he talked a little bit about favorite bands and like what it kind of says about you. So to repeat his question, I know you said Motorhead, Mike. Will and Sam, do you guys have a favorite band?
Probably.
Not at the moment. At the moment, I guess I'm in between favorite bands. You could say.
That was a very hard question to answer. Like as a 57-year-old, if I was like,
no, I get it. Yeah. For me, it's like I mark different periods of my life. A lot of it was like, when I was like 15 to 17, like Minor Threat was my favorite band, or then like The Replacements became my favorite band, or whatever. Like, but all that being said, so you're talking about synthesizers and rock music. This is probably my favorite band, at least for like the last, almost 10 years. Is their most underrated record. That's Faith by The Cure. I know they're obviously a massive band, but this is one of their only records that it was one of their early albums. It's their third. It's when they're really knee deep into like being atmospheric and gothy. It's before they went very commercial sounding, which I celebrate most of their catalog. But this record is just like very atmospheric. It's not like song driven. There's only like there's two songs on here that actually have some like the punk feel of their earlier stuff. It's very cool though. It's got one song, The Funeral Party, that I swear the guy who did the soundtrack to Twin Peaks must have been heavily influenced by, because it's very similar. I definitely recommend people check it out if you like Primary is one of my favorites as well.
That's a great song. Yeah, that's a great song.
Songs like Primary and or on the previous record, Play for Today, are like legitimately like really great rocking songs. But this one's really great. I think people just don't talk about it because there's no hits. Because even the previous record, it wasn't like a commercial record, but it still had like The Forest, which is like would be on a 6 compilation. Yeah. Really great record. I don't know what it says about me. Probably that I'm a big old baby. I love the Cure so much. I have a couple other. I mean, I love like Husker Du replacements are up there too, and Neurosis and Misfits. But the Cure probably my number one where I could listen to them.
Not to put you on the spot. When did that record come out? Do you have that?
I would say 82.
82.
I would say that's like ballpark. I would say like 82.
Something like that, right?
They had like a 3-record cycle of like their darkest, most depressive stuff, and it was 17 Seconds, this one, and then Pornography. Pornography is the ultimate pit of despair record. This one has a little more atmospherics in it.
What were they doing in like 1984? What was like the new record?
That's when they were going full like I think that's when you're getting to like the top and Head on the Door.
Okay.
And Head on the Door was like the big crossover where like
right. I just remember like when I was young, I got a free ticket to go and see them.
Yeah.
And I went, right, man. We talked about this a little bit before the show, and I fucking hated it, man. It was like 2 hours. And, this is like 1984, 85. That's me, like, being a punk, this sucks. Now I wish I could go back and see it with the brain and the eyes that I have now. Because I'd probably be probably the best show I've ever been to in my life if I was to see it now. Young and stupid,
Incredible. And yeah, I think Jeff mentioned Primary. Really cool song where there's no guitars on it. There's just drums and bass and vocals. It's so
great.
Cool.
That's an amazing song.
Yeah, really cool record. Check it out. There's no hits. It's really cool. The first song in particular, The Holy Hour. It's like a looped bass line, and it's just like real moody, and it's the closest they get to like a lot of this like to like Joy Division kind of to me.
Oh, cool.
Okay. It's real bleak. It's a real bleak record.
It's very bleak. A lot of times I can only listen to like a couple songs in these records before I start to get like a little too devastated, especially Pornography.
Yeah, those two, like that one and Pornography, are like a pretty bleak, right? It's good. Great,
yeah, it's real pit of despair shit. That says something about how much I love them though, because I can listen to all of them anytime.
Would you say there was a point where the pit of despair was more where you resided and you're on the other side of it, but can reflect back on the times? And
Certainly.
I love that. I love something like when you try and show someone some music and they're like, God, this is such a bummer. And you're like, well, it's not a bummer for me. It's like very cathartic for me and very like, I appreciate the honesty of it and things like that. But to some people, it just seems like sad music. So
I mean, you can't just listen to music when you're happy, right? There's got to be all the emotions.
Yeah, for sure.
Have to come into play. Does it make you cry sometimes?
Does music in general or The Cure?
That record, but in general.
Not this record. I have no problem saying what makes me cry.
Me neither. That's why.
Pornography definitely has songs that make me cry. Disintegration definitely has songs that make me cry. This one, not so much. This one's just more of just like it reminds me of like, the cover is all just like gray. If you've ever played the Silent Hill games, they're just like very like ominous and just like foreboding. It's definitely moody at times, but it's got a little bit of levity where it gets like a little more upbeat.
The song that I cried to most recently too, and I always do. I don't know. It's like that song Over and Over by Black Sabbath. It's the last song on Mob Rules. It's like hidden. It's
cool. Yeah.
That one always gets me. I don't know why. It's just
that's how I am with Solitude by Black Sabbath. Catch me in the right mood.
Even just talking about it, I'm like, let's move on.
We gotta go. All right, Sam.
All right, Sam, what you got?
All right. Oh, so I kind of mentioned this earlier. We were talking. Somehow it came up the idea of a rock opera, and I promised you guys a rock opera.
You did promise.
I'm delivering.
Rock
opera.
Do not back down from your promise.
I committed to it when I said that earlier. So this is a band that nobody in the world, I feel like, well, not nobody, but nobody's really familiar with, Guided by Voices.
Oh,
are any of you Guided by Voices fans?
No, because like it's such an ominous discography that I wouldn't even like.
It is.
They make the Melvins look approachable in comparison.
Yeah, well, what you realize when you dig into the Melvins and Guided by Voices is that there's a lot of records, and a lot of them are good to great, but not all of them are. It's pretty easy to like look into it and pick out 5 that are like the essentials. And Guided by Voices have their 90s into the early 2000s. That's kind of considered like 5 to 6 essential albums. And this one's not really part of it. This is really earlier super early Guided by Voices. I don't know if any of you know this record.
I don't at all. Sorry.
Looks great.
So yeah, it's a weird one, and it just got reissued, which is cool because previously it only ever came out in the early 90s, and it never got repressed. It was their most like collectible, sought after, impossible to get, like $800 record, and it finally got reissued. And it's interesting. It's on Scat Records, which does like that's like a smaller Midwest label. I know it does the Spike and Vein. You guys know that band, the like 80s one band, Spike and Vein.
I don't.
Did the reissues for them. Anyway, so it's a weird one. Guided by Voices, I think of, are known as writing these like 90-second to 2-minute like super like dense power pop kind of songs where it's just like maybe even a song that's 90 seconds where it's just like 2 choruses and 1 verse or something, like kind of like not full songs, you know, but like that's what people love about them is it's just like hit after hit, very like pleases somebody with like a certain kind of attention span, and that's kind of what they're known for. And this is a weird one. This is like I could be wrong, but I think like overall it's their 3rd or 4th album, but they really didn't hit their stride until after this, according to most people. But I've always really liked this. It's kind of darker, and the songs are longer. There's like an 8-minute song on here, which for Guided by Voices, that's like, you know, yeah. And no, like none of the songs are that short, and they don't follow that power pop structure, but he's still a great songwriter. And it's a concept album about like substance abuse and family and things like that and traumas, but it's not that heavy to me. It's kind of like absurdist or something. You know, the singer of Guided by Voices is known as like a insanely heavy drinker. He'll drink like a whole bottle of liquor on stage, like during their shows, and somehow is still doing that, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, that's just something that the band is known for. And this kind of feels like all their other albums are like kind of fun feeling, and this one just feels like him being kind of like honest.
But it's
not. Yeah, it's an early one, and I feel like he never really, as far as I know, if anyone in the chat knows of any other records by them that are anywhere like this, I'd love to hear it because it seems like a really unique part of their discography to me. But yeah, so it's interesting because it's kind of like a concept album about like a heavy drinker, written by a heavy drinker.
Jesus.
But I think of it kind of as like the character in this album, runs over someone with his car and goes to jail for like murder. So what I've been thinking about when I listen to this is it's almost like this guy, Robert Pollard, the singer of Guided by Voices, famously has like a really heavy drinking habit, at least. And it's almost like he's created this character to compare himself to.
Right.
We're like, this is what a really fucked up person is like, not me. That's what I thought when I was listening to it. And I thought that was a really interesting dynamic. Or something.
Right.
If he puts out all those records, he must be the world's most high-functioning alcoholic.
No, I don't know how much of it's. That's the thing is like, he does seem like fairly functional, and I've heard that he doesn't like drink every day like that. But if you can put away like a full bottle of liquor on stage, you must be seasoned, right? Not just doing that.
Pickled.
Yeah, like I don't know. I'm not going to get into that guy's personal life. I just think it's an interesting record, and it's like the thing with a lot of concept albums or rock operas is that the story kind of falls flat, and you're like, I feel like you're trying to shoehorn in the story at the expense of some of the songs not being that good, or the story's not really all there. And I think it works beautifully on this because it's about a hopeless drunk. So the fact that the story's like really incoherent and like it jumps from one like time to another, it kind of like all works together because it's like, it's supposed to be like this shambolic mental state of like this guy who's like all completely falling apart. I think it's a really, really good record. It's really, I know it's kind of like sounds like a bummer, so I hope it's not, but it's a good like kind of I don't know. It just kind of feels like one of those like lo-fi masterpieces, you know. Like it sounds like it was recorded on a 4-track, but there's a lot of. It's really all like perfectly arranged. He's kind of like that's kind of the cool thing about home recording is sometimes people who do those lo-fi home recordings become like a master of what they want, and it's a complete contained like one guy's vision, and that's, to me, this is my personal favorite record.
Right.
I listen to like all their 90s stuff at least.
What's the name of the record again, Sam?
Oh, so it's the same place the fly got smashed, which I guess is like a bar fly, kind of double meaning there. Right. Yeah, and it just came out. It's nice. This color vinyl is really nice, pink. Yeah.
It seems like songs just kind of flow out of that guy. It's like they're just constantly flowing out of him. Like he could write like an album in a day, kind of a guy.
For sure, yeah. I think this record is interesting because it's a break from his typical style in like so many different ways, and it works. And it's not. It seems polarizing amongst Guided by Voices fans. A lot of them are like, "Yeah, it's different, but it's really cool," and some people are like, "This is not what I want from I want what I know from them." So, but I like it a lot. I'm a big fan. I guess we'll keep talking until Will comes back to do his.
Yeah, we could move on.
Okay.
Maybe. Where's he gone?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It's his turn.
Dog
I don't know what to do.
turned off his phone.
Gone surfing.
Like, how many records do they have out? Like
I think including EPs, it's like hundreds.
Hundreds, right?
Records. Yeah.
It's.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They were on some pretty good labels like Matador and stuff, so I guess they had the financial support to do it. I don't know.
There you go. Cool. He's back.
Yeah,
I think.
We're living in a land where somebody comes home and the internet cuts out. Pretty cool.
All right.
I'm sorry I missed the internet, man.
That's okay. It's your turn, man. It's your turn.
You got I think you got the gist.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, it sounds like a great record.
Yeah,
for
sure.
I remember you talking about them quite a bit at points over the years.
Yeah, I've had my moments with them, and I think at the end of the day, it's their most interesting record to me, and just a good album in general.
I'm gonna check it out. I wish I had the master list if there was such a thing.
There is such a thing. I didn't I not send it?
I got the
and I'm desperately hoping I didn't somehow present this last time, but I'm quite certain I didn't. We'll touch on the Nasti record that you presented earlier.
Nasti?
Yeah. So just in terms of what I feel like that record sounded like to me of a certain era, this record is one I've revisited a few times recently and has remained one of my favorites for the last 12 years or something. Condominium's Warm Home. They were a Minneapolis-based band.
Yeah.
I love this record. It's got some really, I don't want to say straightforward, but like it's clean guitar tones ish. The riffs are really interesting. The drumming is fucking fantastic. The drummer is, well, I should say they have gone on to be in like a number of other fantastic bands I'm going now. I believe they play in Salvaje Punk.
Okay.
I don't know, a bunch of fucking bands at this point. Joe B is the name of the drummer, but yeah, Condominium. I went to see them play at a loft in Chicago. Got this record that night. Had no idea what they sounded like. It was just like blown away by. I don't know. There was something of the early 2010s that seemed pervasive in like punk bands. It wasn't angular necessarily, but like there was something that was a little off kilter about what was going on, a little nastier, a little noisier in some ways, but I felt like Condominium wasn't like distorted in that sense. Like
that's interesting. Yeah,
it was so strange.
I remember when that record came out, and I listened to it a ton.
Yeah,
it's been a little while, but I remember it still. Yeah,
it holds up very well. I recommend revisiting it.
Yeah, it's first time on the show. First time for me to see it.
Sorry, I'll try to present it without so much glare here, but great band, Condominium.
Joe B's been in a ton of bands, right? I'm kind of blanking on what bands he's been in.
Yeah, I'm having a brain fart on all the bands too, but Joe B's been in like every fucking good band, basically. Incredible drummer. Also plays, I believe, bass in Abysm right now.
There you go. Okay.
Oh, I like Abysm a lot. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Abysm's cool. Joby's a very talented individual. They clearly can put their talent where it belongs.
Cool.
Good records.
That's a great pick. Yeah, that's a new one for sure. All right. Let's talk about some D-beat. Man, a genre that, it's been oversaturated for
as of lately. Yeah, I think there will be a time when D-beat goes away, and then eventually it'll come back. And
I mean, in the 90s too, the 2000s, it's been a big thing for, it's come and gone a bit in and out, as you say. But
it feels like the saturation is peak currently.
Oh yeah, for you, okay. There's a lot of it about, right? But it's funny to think, back in 1983, 1984, there wasn't a lot of it. There weren't actually many bands that sounded like Discharge, which is kind of it's interesting to think about. Maybe it was too soon, It was too soon to do it, right? So it didn't really come about until years later, especially in the States. In 1983, there were not many leather jackets and spiky haired bands playing Discharge influenced music. I don't know if you guys can think of any offhand, but
Crucifix count?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. But they're kind of, even that's
it doesn't sound like
it's an influence, but it's not like a D-beat band.
I think it's also a visual aesthetic thing too. They just look more like British punks too.
Absolutely. Crucifix, but they don't sound like Discharge to me. There was that band Diatribe that had 1 7-inch out. There was that band Heresy, I think we're from Michigan, who had a 7-inch out. Maybe even Final Conflict, a little bit, in the early days. But there wasn't really many or any straight up Discharge worship bands. But there was one, and they were from Venice Beach, and they have ties to suicidal tendencies.
Interesting. I don't know if I've heard of this.
I hadn't heard of it until quite recently, but my friend Cooch from Radio Raheem excavated these recordings. Man, they're really, really good.
Is it on Radio Raheem?
It's on Radio Raheem, yes. Yeah,
I love everything they do. That's such a consistent label.
And the reissues are so beautifully done.
It's really great. Yeah.
So this is the band I'm talking about. Look at the artwork, man.
Oh, I mean that
against.
Never even heard of that.
Honestly, I had not either until recently, and this came out in 2018. So it might have been lost in the shuffle a little bit.
It was for me, yeah.
There you go. Mike got it. Against, yeah. I mean, this is as close to Discharge as you're going to get from the US in 1983, 84. It's a demo, which actually did get released at the time, and then some recordings that never got released that were supposed to be an EP.
It was originally just a tape, though.
But yes, and they never came out, and so it's it's finally out. In 2018. It's so interesting though, man, because the Discharge riffs are there, the D beats are there, but you cannot help but notice that these guys are from California. It's got more bouncy bass lines, and the US hardcore influence is straight in there. So it's California guys doing their take on Discharge, and it's really, really, really good.
I'll definitely have to check. Radio Raheem, I trust that stamp of approval pretty much.
They're not going to put out anything that's bad. It's so good. Obscure bands two of the guys were in one of the really, really early lineups of Suicidal Tendencies that never released anything.
It's cool. Yeah.
But it's also kind of fun. Mikey?
I was going to say, for my first episode, I did that No Mercy record, which I guess is also suicidal adjacent.
It is suicidal adjacent. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. I was going to mention, Jen. There he is. It's a split release with Coladicto. There he is, the man himself.
Oh, cool.
Thanks, man. This is a great record, so kudos to you for doing that. Great record. Cheers, Jen. Cheers. Yeah. And then this took me by surprise, as a historical artifact. And also, it's fucking great. It's a great record too. I want to show the liner notes a little bit because it's a very obscure band, But when you see the flyers and the bands they play with, it's Jesus Christ, Stalag 13, Circle 1,
wow, yeah,
with Against, And then there's tons more flyers. They got all the flyers, man. 7 seconds, cause for alarm.
Oh, okay.
Against,
So I've seen them before.
know.
I recognize these flyers. So I just
There you go, Mikey. Against and No Mercy together. There you go.
Actually, that logo is starting to looks familiar on now that I see it on that flyer and on the back of the record. I recognize the logo for sure.
Fear, Wasted Youth, Circle 1, Stalag 13, Against.
Wow.
So they were like playing some like top-notch shows when they were active, but like never.
I wonder if they ever played any of those Raw Power shows in LA or anything.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, they were around for a little bit, but yeah, then they were kind of gone. Battalion of Saints, Fear, Wasted Youth. I think there's like a connection to Wasted Youth too with this band.
Okay.
But, I mean, it's like if you see this record, like it's like you're not going to be like disappointed by.
I'll definitely check that out. It
The
sounds
music
very
or like the artifact as a historical like package. Great stuff. But it's funny. I was thinking about we were talking about this earlier, right? About like time. Because by 83, Discharge were already in their like Warning and Price of Silence and The More I See era, right?
They're nearing the
nearing the great world, right? But these guys were just getting started.
They still had their feet on the ground.
They were approaching their peak.
I like that era of Discharge, But
I do too. I like that era quite a bit.
But this doesn't sound like that. It sounds like older Discharge, like made by like Californians, back in the day. So
that sounds cool.
Yeah, it's good record. All right.
So my fourth record.
That's right. Yeah.
This is one I was hesitant to do this record because I feel the least qualified to talk about this.
Hello, welcome to the club.
Yeah, well, usually I can at least bullshit when I'm talking about like punk and hardcore and metal records. But this is something totally different. It's a genre that I have very little experience with in terms of albums. But this is one of my go-to records for like after I play a show, like on the drive home, or even like when I get home, I'm like taking a shower and stuff. It's a Discreet Music by Brian Eno.
Oh, nice.
It's like an early ambient record. I think it was his first full album doing ambient music. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't feel super qualified to talk about it because I'm not an ambient like deep head or anything, but I absolutely love. Specifically, the A side is one long song called "Discreet Music." I don't know. It's one of those records I feel like I have a special relationship with it. Cause like I said, I just put it on background all the time, and it's just really meditative in a way. I know like the whole thing with him was like making like furniture music, where it's like, it doesn't need to be like the focus of your main attention. It just kind of like paints your surroundings.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. I like. It's got like this circuit for like like loops and stuff. So yeah, check it out. The B side I could kind of take or leave. It's like a version of Pachelbel Canon in D, like the wedding song. But the A side, the song Discreet Music, just play it when you're like driving late at night or like winding down. I think it's a really, really good record.
Nice.
That's a quick and easy one for me.
I like a lot of that Brian Eno stuff. Sometimes I'll just pick a random one and I'm never let down by it.
I really like his one prior to this one, which is when it's like kind of like it's got some ambient stuff and then also some like.
What is that? What's that one?
I can't remember. It's white and green, the album cover, and I couldn't tell you the name.
Is it Another Green World?
Yes.
Oh, that one. Yeah, that's.
Yeah, now it's got some ambient stuff on it, but it's still got 1 foot in each.
Have you heard Apollo, Mikey? Do you know that one? I think you would like that one.
Yeah, I know a lot of his classic ambient stuff.
That's my favorite probably overall because it's got like pedal steel guitar on it.
Yeah.
But it's slowed down pedals. It's just really weird. There's a short documentary on YouTube about Brian Eno Apollo that's really interesting.
I've seen that actually. Yeah, that's really
cool. Basically the gist of it is that he was trying to make music like to be played with footage from the moon landing. So he was trying to get inspiration for how he would want to do that. And he was at some point he interviewed some of the astronauts and asked them what they were listening to around that time. And almost all of them said country music. So he was like, how can I make ambient music with elements of country music? Wow. So Apollo is my favorite because it has this really unique element of that slow, spacey pedal steel that's certainly doesn't sound like country music, but in a weird little way, it almost kind of does.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
And it's really got that tone to it.
Oh, do you know Apollo also?
Like these are great recommendations for me because I've never dipped a toe into the ambient Brian Eno stuff. So it's
I got discrete music and Apollo and music for airports.
Those are kind of the big three. Yeah,
big three.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. It's, like I said, it's just stuff I feel wildly unqualified discussing, but it's good stuff.
You're qualified to discuss your own experience with the record.
Yeah, I know. I just get like, it's like if you don't know, I almost like picked a different record, something that I could like speak to.
No, it's great. It's
hopefully
great.
There's not any ambient snobs in the chat. Gonna
yeah. I was like,
I'm just
I doesn't even know.
Not yet.
This fucking
guy
doesn't know.
You idiot! That's right.
The hostile ambient fan.
Yes.
That was we were talking about Karp before. The Karp guy was on that Melvins album, Hostile Ambient Takeover. That's funny.
That's really funny.
Nice time.
Hostile.
Beautiful. All right, Sam, what you got?
Right. Oh, I got to make a choice. Give me a second.
Make it count.
All right, I'm going to go with this one because I'm curious. I think all of us know this band, and they've come up on the show at one point, like maybe a month ago. Someone was talking about Boris, and I really like this 2020 album they did.
Yes.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah,
like the fishy one, right?
It's interesting because it's kind of got a bit of a Japanese hardcore thing along with their sludge rock thing, and they had kind of stopped making really heavy music, or at least in the way that appealed to me for a long time. When I first got into them was around like 2007 or 8, which was kind of like in their classic, towards the end of maybe their really classic era of the 2000s, putting out all their big sludge records. And this is kind of a return to that, plus adding kind of like a Japanese hardcore element to it.
There's a Gudon cover on there.
And the guitarist of Gudon plays
on it, right?
On some of these songs. Yeah. And it's on Bloodsucker Records, which is like an old Japanese label. I'm just curious, maybe if you know any of that, what went on there with this coming out on that label.
They're all friends. They all go back from the hardcore scene.
That's what I thought. It's so cool, yeah.
Like in Japan, it makes like total sense. Maybe to like Europeans, it's like, why are they on this weird like Japanese hardcore label and doing like split records with Rocky in the Sweden? This band,
right.
But they're
no, it's not that surprising to me. I just thought it was really fucking cool. And this was to me a real return for them. They hadn't put out a record I loved in quite a while.
So good, it's so good.
And I saw them touring on this in DC at the 930 Club, which is like a big venue. And there was like a bunch of people who just kind of looked like, certainly not people who know about Japanese hardcore.
Right.
Just kind of like more like metal people. And there was like a bunch of people moshing in like 1,000 capacity room to Japanese hardcore. And I just thought it was really interesting. I'm like, I'm watching a Japanese hardcore performance. And not like a legacy act like Death Side, like a band that just put out an album and they're playing material off that album in this huge room. Something about that was really interesting to me.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Standing there, and I realized that's what was happening.
And that is the Bloodsucker pressing, right? You've got.
I got the Japanese one.
I mean, like not we don't usually go too deep into this stuff, but that is the one to get. Like the other two, like it got reissued on FOAD, right? And then Third Man.
Third Man US. Yeah,
so it's gone from like Bloodsucker, FOAD to like Third Man, but that one sounds like the best out of all of them. Like that.
I got it when it came out. I was like, "That's so." I just got it immediately when it came out, so I didn't pay any crazy price.
I mean, neither. I didn't kind of find out until later. So it sounds like so much better than like the other.
I listened to this so much the year 2020, the year it came out. It was like my most listened to stuff.
I think I remember seeing a thing once, and I might be getting my facts wrong, but I remember like looking. It was like a log of like all the Burning Spirits shows from the early '90s, and apparently Boris. It wasn't Boris, but the members of Boris did like a Chaos UK cover band that played a few of the shows.
Well, no, one of the members was in a band called Chaos Channel, who are from.
Maybe I'm getting myself.
Yes, and it's like at least one member of Boris has been in that Chaos Channel band for like decades, and they're like a Chaos UK like kind of band, right?
Yeah.
So it's.
Mike, do you know the record they did in the late 2000s, Vane?
Yes.
That one?
Yes.
So that I always thought that had cool music on it, but it's kind of unlistenable the way it's like recorded and mixed and stuff is just like so brutally like It's just like layers and layers of guitar, and like you almost can't hear the drums, and like it's a cool record to like put on headphones as loud as you can, and like it sounds crazy, but this has a little more powerful production. Yes. So like that Vane record always hinted to me that they could make like a sick Japanese hardcore style record, and this is like to me the completion of that kind of idea for them. Is this no?
It's so good. It's
a really good record. I like it quite a bit. I remember seeing a lengthy. It was like a online. It was like a discussion. Not really even like an interview, but it was from the guy from Gudon and one of the people from Boris. Like having.
I remember when that came out. Yeah.
Like the discussion about just like everything.
What was that on? That was on like I'm blanking on the name of it, but he does a really great zine.
General.
Was it the Negative Insight?
Negative Insight. That was it. Yes.
I think it was Negative Insight. It could have been General Speech, but I think it was
Negative Insight. I think. Yeah.
I think you're right. Actually. It's very cool.
Yeah.
That's great. The one that came out, like, is it Heavy Rocks, like the third Heavy Rocks song that came out quite recently too, with the leopard.
With the leopard cover? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
cool. Yeah, that and this back to back were like,
back-to-back.
Oh, they're back, man. Yeah.
And then the split of Rocking to Sweden as well. It's like, woo.
Yeah, that was cool too.
Any new record they do, but like I'll like kind of like whenever Tommy tells me it's like a good one to check out, I'll check it out.
I like the one.
I'll let you know when they put out.
I like the one like with the black and white cover, which has Atsuko singing all the songs. Like it's like a shoegazy kind of album.
Oh, W?
Not that one. It's before that one. It has a black and white cover with like her picture on it.
I know is it Attention Please? Maybe.
No, it's not that one. Let's
know.
They
have so much stuff, and I know
the discography is insane. It's like a Guided by Voices kind of level of.
Yeah. I'm a big fan, but I kind of dropped out. This one, it's interesting because the drummer sings all the songs on this. He's like their hardcore vocalist, I guess.
I think that's the guy that was in Chaos Channel. I think it's that guy.
Okay. I mean, he's a crazy good drummer and a great hardcore vocalist too.
Yes. That's a great pick. That's a great record.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Good choice, Sam.
Okay, Will, man, that surfboard started to look like a samurai sword from where I'm sitting.
I'll follow up with the most appropriate record next, and I'll leave the one that I have the absolute least to say about for last, I guess. We've already talked about it.
I see it.
There you go.
Ozma. This is sorry to do it, but
don't be sorry.
One with the pressing, which included the photo of by its tail.
Yeah, I have a shirt of that picture. That's a crazy shirt. I have a shirt with that. It's a tie-dye shirt with that picture printed on it, and it doesn't say Melvins or anything. It's just
a picture.
Yeah, my friend Matt from Cold Feet did it. I don't know if you guys know.
I do know that.
Yeah. Casey shirt.
Should also be noted that the person holding the cat was Lori Black, who was the daughter of Shirley Temple.
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah.
Fully crazy. I'll geek out about just like some of this other stuff real quickly, but it's got the original promo sheet for Boner Records with it. Nice. It's got like Fang, band called Fearless Iranians from Hell, some other really cool shit in it. The original piece listed, but super nerdy shit. But I think I was actually maybe Jeff from Sorry State who was like, "Yo, do you want this?"
Cool.
What year did that come out originally? Like the record?
That would have been like mid to late 80s, right?
Okay, that's earlier stuff. Okay, that's what I thought. I really know like
that's their second LP.
Their second LP, yeah. And the first one that Lori Black played on.
Yeah.
God, it's hard to keep forward. What was that?
That was before Boris, right?
Well, that's where Boris got their name from. Was
no, I can say it's before the album Boris, though, right?
It's a Bullhead. Bullhead has the song Boris.
Yeah,
Bullhead. Okay,
it's the first song on that record.
I'm getting my wires crossed. I'm sleepy.
Oh yeah. You're close. You're very close.
Bullhead, third Melvins record. Boris, first track. I've been jamming like so. I don't probably need to go on about like why the Melvins are fucking great. or why this record is important or relevant, but it's been in what am I listening to lately? So I busted it out.
Classic.
Yeah,
that one to me is I like the first one, but that to me that's where they really click in with their kind of a lot of the elements of their signature sound really come in on Ozma. The first one and Ozma are both like kind of have a little bit of a toe still in hardcore somehow. They have like a lot of faster elements, and that Ozma is where they really hit their stride with like those heavy tempos that they're known for, I think.
And it's a little weirder than where they end up later. Like the groove that I feel like the Melvins end up finding, like it hasn't quite hit on Ozma. Like it's definitely like, I don't know. I hate to say it, but like it's a hitty record, if you will. The riffs are strange and like it'll make you think a little bit as you're listening to it. You're just like, hey,
they were definitely like in the process of breaking this like a ton of new ground, and you get like this kind of unconventional aspects that didn't. But that's kind of I wish they. When I love the Melvins, they're like a contender for favorite band. We were talking favorite band earlier. Yeah. They're like up there for me, and I think they still put out good albums here and there for sure. I just feel like they've kind of like fell into this box or something. Like, I wish they were like really, I don't know. There's something predictable about their music, even though it's weird in a way.
Do you feel like they've done anything different than what Neil Young has done?
Yeah, I don't know. There's something like when I listen to those early ones, even though those are so like canonized and influential, you feel this like excitement of them exploring this new territory.
Yeah,
you're just never going to get again, and that's not really their fault. But there's something about where they'll. Oh, somebody just mentioned eggnog in the chat.
Isn't that one the
Lysol is maybe my favorite. Lysol and Bullhead are my two favorite overall. I think personally.
Bullhead's so good.
Bullhead is insane. I'm not a big fan of drum solos, but the Bullhead drum solo is one of the few great drum solos ever to me.
Yeah. That was also in my stack for like possible picture of the week.
Bullhead, yeah, that might be it for me.
Nice.
But all the first like 7 or whatever, basically everything from the beginning through their major label, and then most of the early 2000s, like they didn't really put out a throwaway album for like 20 years.
And even in the midst of some of their later records, they were putting out tremendous fucking albums.
Yeah, for sure.
Going back to the Karp record, the one that they released with the bassist from Karp and the drummer from Big Business.
Was that Senile Animal?
Yeah.
That's when I saw them on that tour. Those shows really did it like really
great record.
Impacted me. Yeah. I saw Senile. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say there's one riff in particular that I want to say the song on Senile Animal is a history of drunks, but the riff is almost identical to a riff on Ozma. It's different.
I never picked up on that. Yeah,
but it's very similar. But also, when you've been writing songs for 30 fucking
years, you run out of riffs eventually.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fun to do a callback to your old material.
100%.
Nice. That's a great tie-in with Sam's pick.
Yeah.
Boris.
They toured last year, and I didn't get to see that tour. It's a shame.
Together, right?
Really, I've seen both of them a number of times, and I really wanted to catch them
together. They went to the Voivod, didn't they?
Yeah, and it was like snowing that day, and my friend who was going to go with me like bailed, and I just ended up.
They played
going.
Where?
They played in Virginia Beach.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Yeah, I don't think Boris has ever played Richmond, as far as I know. I don't know why. It's interesting. They tour a lot. Melvins have apparently the Melvins didn't play Richmond intentionally for 30 years. That's what Steve Smith told me. I don't know why, but I trust his info on that.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, I don't know.
One bad experience and off you go.
No, yeah. They're back. They've been playing Richmond again on their recent tours.
All right, last round. I've got a classic band that have just kind of put together like a collection of their like oldest material that I was not familiar with until this came out. and it kind of like kind of surprised me. I'd seen people like talking about this record. I was like, do I really need this? Like, I like this band. I've got all the other records. Do I really need this? It took me a while to kind of get around to buying it, and I'm really, really glad I did, because it kind of took me by surprise. It's a New York band, like I said, the Plasmatics.
Cool.
The Vice Squad. The Vice Squad recordings, 1978 to 1979. So it's like their first like 3 like self-released singles from 78 and 79.
See.
Collected together on one record with like a bit of bonus material. Yeah, it was like, it really, really took me by surprise, because I really like the Plasmatics, but I've only heard like the Stiff era onwards. You know, I hadn't heard this stuff before. I got a bit of a Bad Brains like Black Dots moment with this record.
Cool.
If that makes any sense. It's like, okay, you're familiar with this band like playing quite fast, and then suddenly you hear like this older material which is like way like slower and more like punk.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what this is. It's like, you know, the first original versions of like Butcher Baby, which is like, it's like super slow, like compared to like the Stiff Records single and the LP, but it's so good.
Yeah, I can't lie. They've always been a band that I actually have never known super well. I feel like I know them more by like her reputation and her like persona than their actual music. It's been something I've always needed to dig deeper into.
Oh, it's like classic band, I guess. But the thing that like, I don't know, I guess like, you have Butcher Baby, and then immediately you get like 2 live songs, like from CBGBs, and it's like, oh man, like live tracks, you know, that kind of thing. I was like, you know, do I really need like live tracks? But they're really, really good, and that's what they were on the original EP, so they have to be on here. But like, the thing that like really blew me away is this version of Want You Baby, and it says with noise jam. So I think what they did at the time, they were in the studio and they were like in their separate recording booths, just like playing their own instruments separately, and they kept the tapes rolling. Wendy O. Williams like plays saxophone on it, and it's wild. It's like a Stooges like LA blues kind of thing going on, and then it kind of goes like right back into like Want You Baby, and like it's pretty cool. I think this is like the first time that like had ever been like released before, so it's pretty cool moment like in the studio. I know I'm a big Plasmatics. Cool. If you're a Plasmatics fan, this is like a no-brainer. But
I'm with Mikey. I'm not like, I've heard the band. I'm not super. I never really listened to them that much.
This is not the place to start. You know, this is like a kind of a real like, you know, a fan like for fans only kind of a record. But then I don't know, man. I suppose like if you listen to No Hope for the Wretched first, and you could probably go back to this, but it's quite different. It's like much slower versions of those songs. But
okay, cool, yeah.
Hello, Mike. Hey, how you doing? Yeah.
Oh,
there you go. That's my last pick. Just came out like a couple of years ago.
Okay.
On vinyl. That's the original, like 7-inch sleeve. Like, no liner notes. You'd have thought with such a visual band, there might be a whole bunch of like unreleased or like rare photos from the time era. That there's none of that, which is a bit disappointing. You kind of want a booklet with photos and stuff, but you don't get it. So what are you gonna do?
Everybody loves the punk porn, you know. You want photos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, like especially like, you know, like a band like Plasmatics, you know, you would have thought they'd have had a ton of photos, right, and gig flyers and stuff from the time. But oh well.
All right, my last record. I know this record has been discussed on this show. I remember, but not as a pick.
Oh, interesting.
As far as I know, I could be wrong, but I remember watching a recent episode where it was an Eric Chubb episode. And this record was briefly discussed. So this is a record that like I never really knew about until probably like 6-7 years ago. it's I think it's actually a pretty well-known record, but I've always had an aversion to a lot of times of like solo records by like, unless you're like a Neil Young or like, like a big person or like a David Bowie, who like you're known for your solo work. But I always have like an aversion to like band members going solo and like touring under their own name or whatever.
That first Ace Frehley solo record is
it's killer. Yeah, it's the best Kiss record, no doubt.
But and I know this record.
Yeah. It's up there. It's like it's second only to the first one to me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're fine. But this record is now I know it to be an absolute classic record. I think it's absolutely perfect. By one of my all-time favorite guitarists and songwriters, and that's All by Myself.
Oh, beautiful. Yes.
You guys discussed this when Eric picked the Blue album.
Okay.
Because you mentioned the credits where it all said everything is done by Rick Agnew's and guitar, drums, vocals. It's so cool because I mean it feels like what the Adolescents should have done after the Blue album. Like this is like a sequel that we the people needed. But it's cool because it's got some stuff that was later used for DI, who I always liked DI, but never quite as much like the Adolescents or some of those other bands. And it's just awesome because it's cool. I like it because it feels like it's like mixing all the cool stuff that Rick Agnew was doing around that time. Because, I mean, I'm the type of person where if you slap a chorus pedal on a guitar, I'm high chance I might like it. There's a lot of his like Christian Death kind of chorus pedaled out kind of stuff on here, and I really like the first Christian Death record. I always felt it was like really, with Rick Agnew, it's really telling how great of a songwriter he is because anytime he would leave a band, they would stop being as good as they were before. Like when he left Christian Death, that's when they started getting less interesting. When he left the Adolescents, it's significantly less interesting.
Right.
He's just the real genius. And I gotta say, one of the coolest looking people of all time. I wish I had the bravery to look that cool or even try to look that cool. Just such a cool guitar player. His songwriting is just great. And I like on the insert, it's got like little pictures for every song. I love when bands do that, where everyone has like some sort of like little drawing to like kind of somehow relates to the
my favorite version of that is Rocket to Russia has such nice insert illustrations.
Yeah. And I know like I was associated with like a Green Day's Dookie has that.
Oh right, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, like Falling Out and You're Too Late in particular are just great songs. I would love to see Rick Agnew now. I know there's the Adolescents band now. They're actually playing Richmond tomorrow. But I think that the only original member now is Tony Cadena, their singer. But I'm pretty sure like Casey Royer and Rick Agnew and like another ex-Adolescents member have a band called the Radolescents, which is obviously a pretty silly name. But it's pretty funny when it's like a Black Flag type situation.
Right. Okay.
Where the flag is like probably more legit
members, like as opposed to the official band. It's so cool. I love the Ed Culver cover picture, Lenny Freeman back cover. I don't know. It's just about as good as it gets to me. It's just so deeply up my alley of the kind of music that I love. And I can't believe I didn't hear this when I was 16 because I would have loved it. I had an aversion to solo records. A lot of times, just like, especially with punk people, I'm like, I like bands. If anybody has, for some reason, hasn't heard it, it's essential. I love this record, and that is my last one.
The record we did talk about was that Abandoned record, which
I love that. Oh man,
right?
We listened to that at one point.
Oh, is that the Tony Cadena like metal band?
It kind of looks metal. It's not that metally. It kind of looks like a metal record.
It's got a little bit of, it's like just the right, we were talking earlier, like English Dogs metal, like that punk metal where it's like, it's not really metal.
And it's not like thrash, but it's like
a little,
it's just like that
to make your punk a little more interesting.
It's just totally like Southern California, like that kind of thing, but with a slightly more metallic kind of guitar tone.
Yeah.
And I guess at the time it was considered very metallic at the time, right? But in retrospect, it's not as metal as you.
To me, it really hits that sweet spot of like
it's amazing, right?
Punk and metal, like chocolate peanut butter.
I'm just such a sucker for Southern California hardcore and punk. It's just like really just like You know that kind of music that you hear so much is just like a certain style that's burned into your DNA.
Yeah,
and that's like
the Blue album. Yeah,
like all that like Orange County stuff or a lot of the other stuff. And like there's so few bands that do that style that are in the world of like underground hardcore and stuff nowadays. Like obviously there's like Bloodstains is like the one band that I know of that is got lots of octave chords and oohs and ahs. Great stuff. So definitely listen to the record.
Beautiful. That's a great last pick. All right, Sam,
Eric Shep releases his fully solo album.
Oh, I would listen to Eric.
I would pre-order that without hearing anything.
He could do a good parody of that with a picture of himself on the cover and everything.
I actually did I once did like a little solo like post-punk goth project where I did everything.
Oh
and
yeah.
Probably the first single I just did the exact same layout as this.
Oh really?
Nice. All right, I like how we're tying in records without planning it because
you gonna solo record too?
Boris, Will did Melvins, and this is only a tie-in because it's another solo album.
Nice.
Which, I know you hate solo albums, Mikey, but
I don't hate solo albums now. I've always been like my hackles get up like.
Yeah, I was having trouble picking my last record, and then I realized this might not be like the most exciting record to everyone listening, but I know everyone in the video conference here likes Tenement. They keep coming up on it.
Yeah. Thanks to this show, I was introduced to that band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mikey and Will are both, devoted fans of that band, and just a real modern classic to us. And just as far as like bands that I got to see live that were of a time where I was active in the music scene, they might be number one for me.
They're just incredible.
It might not be my favorite of all time, but they're up there. And they're like my favorite thing that I feel like I got to catch at its peak. Anyway, super overlooked. Their singer Amos did a full-on solo album a few years ago, and it's just like
not the holiday one, is it?
No. He did a Christmas album. That's kind of like
I like that record. Yeah,
it's cool, but it is like it's like a moody Christmas album, and it's cool for what it is. But this is like holds up with its Tenement songwriting to me. It's just more, if you love that band, you love his songwriting. This is more of that great songwriting, and I think it got super overlooked because maybe you could tie it into with the Boris No, where it was 2020 COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people were like driven by that isolation, and a lot of good music came out during that time, but people weren't touring on it.
Yeah.
And in this case, it didn't get pressed on vinyl for a few years. So I think part of why it got overlooked is because it was Bandcamp only for like the first 2 years that it was out. It wasn't really like a proper release. And then by the time it did come out on vinyl, it was old news, kind of, maybe, you know? So there's a lot of things like, not to be critical of the promotion, but there's a lot of things going against this album where I feel like people just didn't hear it, and I really overlooked it. I bought it when it got pressed on vinyl like a year or two ago just because I'm a completist for it, one of my favorite bands, but I didn't really get into this album fully until like the last couple months. But it's great. If you like Tenement, it's great. It's self-recorded. I think he plays everything on it. He's a great drummer too. Yeah. And the other annoying thing is not only was it like Bandcamp only and then like softly released on vinyl, but the best song on this record is only on the vinyl. I'm telling you.
They're one of those. He's one of those types of guys. Like
the record guy, he wants to reward the record buying fan.
Fair.
When the bridge burns down, track 3.
People don't deserve it.
Yeah. But anyway, if you guys come across this, you should buy it and pay attention. If you remember to track 3, when the bridge burns down, that song is like one of my favorite Amos songs ever.
Cool, I'll check that out.
Cool.
It's annoying because it's not on the internet like at all. You couldn't send someone a link to listen to it. They have to have the record in possession to hear it. I guess that's kind of cool, but it's frustrating because I was like, damn, this song, it's sticking out to me as like clearly like this is the hit. And then I went to like look it up on streaming, and I was like, oh, it's not on there. It's only on the vinyl.
Right.
And that would be one thing if it wasn't the best song on the record, but to me, it's like clearly the best song on the record.
Well, that's kind of like how like one of my favorite Tenement songs. I know we talked about it before. Now Dust.
Oh yeah, it was on the soundtrack, and then Dusk just re-recorded it.
Yeah, that song called "Don't Let Them Tell You."
That's a great song. Yeah,
it's a little indie movie they did. Is a mind-blowingly good song in my mind. Like if this came out like in the 70s, it would have been like a hit. Like it's incredible, and it's like some random soundtrack where it's like all the rest of the soundtrack is just instrumental, and it's like one random incredible song. His other band has done it now too, but it's not as good to me. It's and I do like
both versions a lot. I think they're both solid. I think that new Dusk record is good too. I almost showed that, but like the thing with Dusk that I think might not hit Tenement fans is that all the Tenement music is written by Amos. Music and lyrics, and he's the singer. And the thing with Dusk is that he's one of maybe 4 or 5 songwriters in that band.
He's more of a backseat guy with that.
Yeah, and he plays drums and sometimes sings. So, but I've started to appreciate Dusk when I realized, like, if you want all that Amos songwriting all the time, you're not going to get that. But if you listen to it with a little more of like an open mind to like Amos and Friends, I think those records are really good. I have only recently started appreciating the Dusk stuff. I think it's good. It's just not. It's definitely not Tenement. It's more like country rock. Okay. And also there are some other songwriters that are like writing completely different types of songs that you wouldn't, expect from the Amos world.
I feel like Amos and Tenement in general, just such an interesting band. I think I've probably said this when I picked a Tenement record, where it's just like, I don't know many casual Tenement fans of people who are like, I feel like people either like just don't care at all, or are like, I think me and Will and Sam we're like deep heads, like, and have strong opinions on a lot of the releases.
My strong opinion is that all of it is 10 out of 10.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
I don't think there's any bad. If you say strong opinions, I feel like that implies like that there's some of it that I don't like.
That's true. I don't mean it like that.
I don't know if I could really say that. I love it all so much. Yeah, I think it's so consistent. That new tape they did, Will, you showed that. I haven't
heard it.
Will showed it. Yeah.
You haven't heard that? Oh man, I'll send you the files of that. I have a rip of it on my computer. Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't heard that.
Like songs over the last like 5 years, I think. Basically.
Yeah, it's a bunch of. I hope it's hinting at a new album because
I want to believe that it is, but I'm not sure that it is.
Yeah, well, either way, it's really fucking good. The songs are really good. The recording's good. But this is up there. I would say if you like. I'm
gonna go pull it up on my computer now, so I remember.
Seriously, up there. I don't know how much it costs on Discogs, but you might. I recommend shelling out for the vinyl because it's got annoyingly, it has the best song only on the vinyl.
For the Amos record.
Amos.
Yeah. Track.
All right. All right, Will. Let's bring it on home. What's your last pick? What's your last pick?
I'm looking at 3 different releases right now. I'm going to play the one that I've been listening to the most, but that I have literally the least information about. Sonito Kumi Volume 2.
That's been shown.
Fuck it. All right, I won't talk about it.
That's fine.
No, he's got another one.
He's got another one.
I don't know what all of them are.
We're going to tape.
Mopar Stars. This is a Philadelphia-based band. Members of Poison Ruin. Not that anyone cares. Members of Ruin. It's now from Poison Ruin and.
Now it's awesome. Zorn.
Incredible guitar player and songwriter, and a lovely human being to boot as well. But I believe this is now officially like solo project. It's super 90s sounding pop music. It's cool, delightful. It's I think 4 songs. Yeah, 4 songs. It's super fun. It's simple. I should say it's simple.
What would you compare it to? He's like 90s pop music.
Maybe like a slightly more interesting take on the Lemonheads.
Okay, that's what I was thinking.
Oh wow, okay, cool.
Lemonheads is like a more competent guitar player.
Okay.
Because
nice.
Evan knows
I like
great, you know.
Wow.
It's great. It's really fucking cool. I hope that they do more. But this tape is like 4 fucking songs of gold. So I submit this to you all.
Hey, Will, bring back.
I wish I knew a little bit more about it. I ordered it from now at some point. But I got nothing in the liner notes. There's nothing also. It's just like, it's what you get. So.
What is it called again? I didn't get to catch the name.
Mopar Stars, which I googled.
Maybe that's why I didn't catch the name, because I don't even know what that.
I think it's a reference to like a car. I think there's a car called the Mopar Star, maybe.
Mopar Stars.
Yeah,
Mopar Star car.
On Google right now.
I found it.
MOPAR Stars.
Okay, all right. That sounds like something I need to hear.
Yeah.
When did it came out? This year? Last year?
Probably about last year.
Okay, I haven't heard of that.
Came out in June 2023.
Okay.
You're breaking up.
Last night.
Will, you should quickly bring back your first pick, because like that has been shown, but it's a really interesting record.
The Sonido Tumi 2?
Yeah. Because I think Paco from La Vida Es Un Mus showed like the first one, and then, was it Daniel that showed like that one? I think, and it was like a really interesting like pick. People were really super excited about that record.
It's very cool, and I hope I'm sure I'm just going to reiterate with less knowledge than Daniel or Paco would have had to talk about, but I scooped it from a store after seeing that it was available. I have the first volume as well and fucking loved it, but it's all basically like cumbia and chicha from Peru.
Yeah.
It's literally as anonymous as can be. I'm not sure what's up with that. The back jacket is blank.
Like no band names or song titles or anything, right?
No fucking record label.
That's it.
No
It was
song titles. No albums. Like nothing. There you go.
There you
But
go.
like, I don't know. I was even trying to look and see what further information was available about any of this. Like,
There's not much out there, right? About
it's
those
very
records.
cool.
Yeah.
Which this makes me almost think. What was the big conspiracy a while ago? It was like, there was like a theory that one record. Oh, it was like that Sun and the Southern Lord people were the band releasing Pentagram original tracks that they were secretly writing and recording the songs on the original.
I didn't hear about that. I almost picked the Sun record.
I mean, it was like some goofy ass like 2005 theory. It was like, Southern Lord bands are actually just recording these Pentagram demos and Bobby Liebling singing on them. But like,
I mean, that would be.
Well, did somebody who just like loves cumbia and chicha record these songs? And they're like, we're not fucking Peruvian, so we can't release this music. So,
I think I asked that to like either Cooch or Paco. Was that like made by like someone like like a project kind of thing in the studio or something like that? But they're like, no, it's like genuine like Peruvian cumbia music. But
it's very good.
Yeah.
It's like put it on and let it repeat like again and again, flip it. Just go. I
think Paco said it was like his most, like the first volume, it was like his most played record at the time. Like he just couldn't like stop playing it, which I thought was pretty cool for a guy that just puts out punk records for a living. Like the Cumbian record was his favorite record of the.
I've never heard that. I reckon I've seen that cover around a ton, and I never knew what it was. Now I know.
I think the Sam Richardson running Feel It was distributing copies of this. So.
Nice.
Okay, maybe that's where I saw it. I almost did a Feel It record. It was in my pile. I didn't make it.
Ooh,
you guys heard Follies? Will, do you know that band? They're a New York band.
The Pollies?
Follies.
No, I'm not familiar.
Post Vanity. It's the singer of Vanity's new band that
all right.
He's the songwriter for. That almost made the cut for me. It's good. It's as good as those Vanity LPs. Yeah. Good.
I showed one Vanity record when I was on here. People weren't convinced by
Which one? I really love the second one.
The football one with the
Don't Be Shy.
Don't Be Shy.
That's a modern classic to me.
I think it's great, but like people weren't.
I love that.
I like that record.
Me too. I stand by that record.
No, that's their best stuff. it's interesting because, well, I'm getting off track here, but I almost picked it. So the first Vanity record kind of sounds like Screwdriver, right? People would say that. It does, that's a musical influence there. And then the second one people said sounded like Oasis, which, as someone who likes but doesn't love Oasis, to me it's like an improvement on Oasis. It's elevating that the first Oasis album, kind of like rock and roll. And then the third Vanity record sounds like 70s Rolling Stones, which you can't really improve upon that.
Right.
So it's good, but it's like, yeah, these songs sound like, these are clearly like Sticky Fingers riffs.
Right.
And anyway, so this new band, Follies, is the same singer-songwriter, and it kind of puts all of that together in a really cool. Kind of feels like the culmination of all that different stuff he was trying out on the albums. Yeah.
There you go. You sneaked it in there after all.
All right, I'm done. All right.
That's good because I like that Vanity band, man.
Yeah. I would check out Follies as a new band. Just came out on Feel It.
Nice. All right, let me just introduce next week's show, and then we'll Shall I do the t-shirt thing again? No, I won't do the t-shirt thing again. It's next week, April 12th, Friday. It's a Chicago episode again. Ebro's back on.
Oh, nice.
Matthias Weeks from Council Records and Bill Malloy is back again. Nice. It's going to be a good show. Friday, April 12th, 10 p.m. EDT. Although in Chicago, it's like what? It's like 1 hour earlier than that or something, right?
Yeah.
Whatever time zone they have in Chicago. All right. Thanks for tuning in. It's been a great episode. Great picks, as usual. Until next time, stay healthy and stay